My sister accused my husband of an affair, and my parents believed her. 2 years later, her fiancé exposed her lies and cheating. My sister told my parents that my husband had an affair with her, and they believed her. 2 years later, her fiancé discovered she was cheating and that she had made up the entire narrative. It's difficult to know where to begin, but I feel compelled to get this off my chest and, maybe, find some clarity. I apologize if this comes across as rambling. There is so much to unpack. Hopefully, you people can point me in the correct way because I'm at a loss. I am 30 years old and have been married to the love of my life, Jake, 34, for 8 beautiful years. We have 2 lovely children, a 6-year-old girl and a 4-year-old son. Life was very close to perfect. We had a comfortable home, a consistent schedule, and a profound bond that I believed was unbreakable. Our days were filled with the normal ups and downs of family life, but I couldn't have been happier. But everything changed 2 years ago, thanks to my older sister Lily. Lily, who is also 34, began on a similar route to mine, but our lives have taken completely different twists. To put it mildly, her relationship history has been fraught with difficulties. She had been alone for a long time, and there was a very good reason for it. As much as it pains me to admit it, Lily is a bit of a red flag in terms of relationships. Her actions can only be described as those of a neurotic narcissist. She has a history of destroying her relationships, frequently driving people away with her unstable and deceptive behavior. Lily's relationships always seem to start out well, but they never last. She has a habit of becoming very intense too quickly, and then things begin to unravel. I've seen it happen several times. She'll meet someone, they'll begin dating, and then she'll start picking fights over little matters or become so possessive that the guy feels suffocated. Soon enough, it's over, and she's left wondering why she can't find someone who will remain around. It's difficult to witness, especially since Lily frequently takes her emotions out on me. She would come over to my apartment and complain about not being able to find a man like Jake. There was clearly a great deal of resentment. She'd say things like, "You found a man? Why can't I find somebody like Jake?" I tried not to take offense since I knew she was in a horrible place, but it was difficult not to feel like her words were aimed at me. Despite everything, I still love my sister. I'd always hoped she'd find the man of her dreams and be happy. I even tried to set her up with Jake's friend once, thinking they'd make a wonderful match. But Lily's unusual and unsettling actions rapidly put a stop to that notion. She was so severe and dominating that I recognized it wasn't worth jeopardizing our friendship for her. Despite all of this, I remained hopeful that Lily would finally find happiness. Unfortunately, it was evident that Lily did not feel the same way about me. Jake and I had a big family cookout at our parents' house 2 years ago to celebrate our 6th wedding anniversary. It had been a while since the entire family had gotten together, so everyone was having a great time. Our children were playing with their relatives, and the air was full of laughter and happiness. It was one of those rare moments when everything seemed perfect, and I was surrounded by the people I cared about the most. As the evening progressed, Lily took me aside. At first, I assumed she was going to make me a heartfelt anniversary wish. She complimented me, and I thanked her, shocked at her genuine tone. I asked her what she'd been up to lately, and because I knew she had a new boyfriend, I also questioned about that. But instead of the pleasant conversation I expected, Lily's tone shifted. She gazed at me with peculiar intensity, and the next words she said caught me completely off guard. She stated that after Jake and I married, they secretly had an affair for a period. At first, I thought it was a weird joke and chuckled, but Lily was dead serious. She claimed that after the wedding, Jake continued texting her, and what began as benign, getting-to-know-you exchanges quickly evolved into intense emotional conversations. According to Lily, Jake told her that he and I were constantly fighting and bickering about minor issues. She claimed he'd ask if they might meet, which is when the affair allegedly began. Her statements made me feel ill. I couldn't believe Jake, who had always been committed to me and our family, would be unfaithful. Lily explained that she had kept this a secret all along but could no longer pretend. The way she delivered it, so quietly and confidently, shook me to my core more than the actual news. I briefly considered all of the possible options. Did Jake actually cheat on me? And with my own sister? Were we supposed to be separated now? How about the kids? It took me a while to process my ideas, but then I asked Lily if she had any proof that Jake couldn't get away with lying. That is where she faltered. Lily said she had a lot of evidence, but as her sister, I should believe her, with or without it. That's when I realized, Lily was lying. She could trick mom and dad, but I had been watching her for years. I could immediately detect when she was lying. She burst into tears when she realized I could be onto her. Then came her lecture, which included comments like, "I cannot believe you don't trust me," and "I told you for your own good." Lily then went on to tell our parents the same tale. Soon, all of our friends and family surrounded us, and Lily began shouting at Jake about how he had cheated on me with her. She even alleged that, despite her refusal to participate, he blackmailed her. My hubby was just as perplexed as I was. At first, he assumed this was an unfunny joke. However, when Lily began screaming like crazy in front of everyone, the situation became quite serious. I hoped my folks would assist me with damage control. After all, even if Lily's narrative were accurate, I would have been crushed. To my amazement, my parents sided with Lily without regard for our circumstances. Dad screamed at Jake, accusing him of playing with Lily's feelings. I felt abandoned. My own sister confessed to me that she had an affair with my husband of 6 years. Even though I knew that wasn't true, no wife enjoys hearing this type of thing. Furthermore, if her narrative was true, my father was more concerned with Lily's feelings than my own, a wife and mother who would have lost her husband. When we got home that day, Jake and I talked about everything. I trusted my husband and knew he would never betray me. Before you think I'm gullible, let me warn you that Lily has a history of lying. She has previously wrecked countless relationships with petty lies. In truth, Jake's pal ended their relationship because she accused him of cheating on her at random. She would set her own belongings throughout the apartment and then ask him about if he had brought any other girls. This would lead to screaming bouts, and when he was fatigued, Mom would tell him it was just a test. The situation with us simply confirmed this was a trend for Lily, so I chose to believe my husband. The next days were the worst of my life. My parents refused to hear our side of the tale, preferring to trust Lily's version without any evidence. Our previously close-knit family was broken. Jake and I found ourselves alone, and the atmosphere at family gatherings grew unpleasant. My parents treated me with distrust, while Jake was completely ignored. Lily, on the other hand, appeared to delight in the turmoil she had caused. She played the victim, taking up the attention and pity of everyone around her. It was as if she relished witnessing the devastation she had inflicted in my life. The more I attempted to defend myself and Jake, the more she distorted the story to portray us as monsters. I attempted to contact my parents to explain that there was no proof of Lily's assertions, but it was ineffective. They'd made up their minds, and their commitment to Lily was solid. Mom even accused me of being in denial and choosing Jake above my own sister, which shattered my heart. I couldn't comprehend how they could so easily abandon me, how they could blindly believe Lily's falsehoods. Eventually, the tension reached its breaking point. Jake and I made the difficult decision to detach ourselves from my family for our own mental health and the sake of our children's well-being. It was a difficult decision, but we couldn't keep living in the shadow of such a painful falsehood. This eventually became our new normal. As I mentioned, it was difficult but not impossible. I recognized that I didn't need my parents' approval for everything in my life, and if they wanted to believe Lily's lie, then so be it. But just when I thought the drama was over, something happened to shake things up again. I came across a post on Facebook unexpectedly, and guess what? Lily became engaged. She had shared a series of photos with her new fiancé, a man named Mark, along with a lengthy, heartfelt caption about how she had met the love of her life. She told how Mark entered her life at what she believed was the most difficult time she had ever experienced, a time of pain and betrayal. Ironic, eh? Reading those sentences caused my stomach to churn. The hypocrisy was staggering. Lily had portrayed herself as a victim, employing the same lies she had spoken to elicit compassion and admiration from our extended family and friends. As I browsed through the comments, I noticed that many of our family, who had largely supported her during the turmoil, were praising her and extending their support. Some even made snide, passive-aggressive statements addressed directly at me, such as, "Good for you for getting past that toxicity. You do not need that in your life." It was infuriating. These folks had no idea what had transpired, yet they were ready to congratulate Lily on her alleged courage and tenacity. I felt a similar sensation of betrayal, not only from Lily, but from the entire family, which had decided to believe her falsehoods without questioning. It felt as if they had entirely eliminated me from their life, while continuing to support someone who had only caused grief and destruction. What concerned me even more was Lily's engagement to a man who had no notion what kind of person she was. I couldn't help but feel sad for Mark, knowing that he was being deceived by the same lies that had destroyed my family. I wondered whether Lily had ever told him the truth about what she had done, or if she had continued to weave her web of deception to trap him as well. I was tempted to reach out to Mark and warn him about Lily's true personality. But I immediately realized that it was not my place to meddle with their relationship. Mark would have to discover the truth on his own, just like I did. Still, I couldn't ignore the sense of dread that came with knowing Lily was once again manipulating those around her for her personal gain. In the days that followed, I tried to get the news of Lily's engagement out of my mind, but it was difficult. Suddenly, I began to notice a series of missed calls from an unknown number. I ignored it at first because I assumed it was spam. But the calls kept coming. I didn't have time to pick up because I was so busy with work and kids. Finally, during a break at work, I decided to respond. On the other end of the line, I was welcomed by a screaming Lily. She hurled every insult and slur she could think of at me. It was like a torrent of rage, unfiltered and untamed. I tried to ask her what was going on, but she refused to let me speak. After what seemed like an eternity of listening to her rant, I was finally able to convince her to pause long enough to explain what had happened and why she was so angry. There was a little hush on the other end before she screamed, "How could you claim to be innocent after what you've done?" Before I could react, she hung up. I was left in a trance, trying to make sense of what had just occurred. My mind was spinning with options, but none made sense. What could I have done to make Lily so angry? I had stayed out of her life, given her the privacy she clearly desired, and done nothing to provoke her. I could only think of one person who might have some insight into this situation, my Uncle Tom. He was one of the few family members I still communicated with, and he was always a voice of reason in the midst of the insanity. I called him, thinking he could shed some light on the situation. Uncle Tom did not disappoint. When I recounted what had transpired, he revealed what Lily had cleverly left out. Apparently, her fiancé, Mark, had called off the engagement. What's the reason? He had discovered the alleged affair between Lily and Jake through family rumors. Mark, being the wonderful guy he was, had been looking into a disagreement he had spotted between Lily and myself. When Mark found out about the affair, he was naturally outraged. The trouble was that he didn't realize it was all a lie, a fiction Lily cooked up to seek attention and sympathy. Things took an even more dramatic turn just before the engagement was called off. Mark, Lily's fiancé, had sensed that something was wrong with their relationship. Lily's unpredictable conduct had caused some concerns for him, and he couldn't escape the suspicion that there was more to the story. Mark, motivated by his suspicions, decided to check Lily's phone. What he discovered shocked everyone. Lily had been cheating on him. She'd been meeting up with a guy she met on a dating app, and their interactions weren't simply casual chatter. Mark, who was wealthy and seemed ideal in Lily's eyes, was someone she refused to lose. Lily had no choice but to come honest. She admitted to Mark that she had no affair with Jake and that the entire thing was made up. But, rather than saving her relationship, her confession backfired. She did not deny having discussions with the guy on the dating app. Mark was horrified, not only by the affair, but also by the deception and the lengths Lily had gone to in order to carry it out. It presented Lily in an even more negative light, and Mark wanted nothing to do with her after that. After Mark called off the engagement, Lily's life began to disintegrate. Her lies were now public knowledge, and those who had previously backed her began to distance themselves. The folks who had previously believed her story about Jake and me now questioned everything. Their caustic remarks and supportive letters faded when they discovered the extent of Lily's deception. My parents, who had so easily chosen her side 2 years ago, were left stunned by the truth. Despite the remorse and sorrow I feel for my sister, I know that the best thing for my family right now is to stay away from all of this toxic drama. We've gone through enough, and now I need to focus on protecting my husband, children, and myself from future danger. I'm happy for the clarity that has resulted from all of this, even if it has been extremely hard to achieve. I'd also like to thank everyone who read my article and offered their support and suggestions. It's been a challenging trip, but strangers' compassion and understanding have helped make it bearable. I am grateful to you all for allowing me to see things more clearly and giving me the courage to do what is best for my family. Update 2. Hello, everyone. The last week has been quite stressful, so my family and I decided to take a much-needed mini vacation. It was a nice opportunity for us to clear our heads and refocus on each other after what had happened. I also spent some time reading over all of your comments on my prior postings, and I just wanted to say thank you. Your insights and encouragement have really improved my understanding of the situation. One thing that really struck me was the number of comments about Lily's weird fixation with my husband Jake. Now that you've brought it to my attention, I see that there were always warning flags, but I just didn't notice them at the time. When Jake and I first started dating, Lily had a lot to say. More than I expected. She would always call him brilliant and dashing, which looked like innocent praise, but they were frequently followed by comments that now seem strange, such as how I got him or how he was so out of my league. I dismissed it as her typical mocking, but thinking back, there could have been more to it. Anyway, going on, I must say that my parents have not ceased attempting to reach us. They've called and texted us hundreds of times, and while I'm still unhappy about what happened, I've decided to allow them to come visit us. I understand that their primary motivation is to visit the children, and I've accepted that. After all, I've decided that I would not deprive my children of their grandparents, even if I am not ready to fully reconcile with them myself. While my parents may not have been the best at supporting me, they have always been loving grandparents, and my children adore them. The visit will be difficult, and I'm still unsure how I'll react to seeing them face to face after everything that has transpired, but I'm prepared to try for the sake of my children. I will create limits and preserve my own mental health, but I cannot ignore the attachment they have with their grandparents. Hopefully, this visit will provide some clarity on how to go from here. Thank you again for all of your help and suggestions. I'll keep you posted on how things progress. Update 3. Hello everyone, I hope you are doing better. I wanted to provide an update on how things have been since my last post. My parents did come to visit us, and while I was concerned about how it would go, I have to admit it went better than I imagined. Things were awkward at first, as I expected, but my children immediately broke the ice. They were overjoyed to see their grandparents again, and their enthusiasm helped to alleviate the tension in the room. It was evident that they missed them as much as my parents did. As we settled in, the kids innocently asked where Aunt Lily was. It was a question I expected to come up at some point, and it elicited an uncomfortable stillness. We all avoided the subject at the moment, attempting to keep the atmosphere light. Later, while the kids were busy, I decided to ask my parents directly where she was. They informed me Lily had returned to their home after a long absence and wanted to apologize to me. I found it difficult to take it seriously, however. After everything she'd done, an apology seemed pointless. Furthermore, Mark, her ex-fiancé, deserved the most sincere apologies after everything she had put him through. I advised that instead of wasting time apologizing, they consider enrolling her in treatment. The way she acted, lying so brazenly and destructively, was not a simple mistake. She acted like a habitual liar, and at times, it appeared she was on the verge of being labeled a psychopath. Some may even claim she is one. If she is to heal from this condition, she must seek expert help. Interestingly, Jake and Mark have developed an unexpected bond throughout this process. They began hanging together and learned that they had many common interests. Jake keeps Mark informed about what's going on with us, and it's been great to see them both support each other in various ways. Mark, being the mature individual that he is, has begun to move on with his life. He did not deserve what he went through, but as humans, all we can do is move on and attempt to find peace. Overall, I believe we are on the route to a resolution. Things will never be the same, but I am hopeful that they can improve. If the world works in our favor, we may not be able to return to the way things were, but we may be able to reach a satisfactory point, one in which we can re-establish some trust and move forward without the weight of the past holding us back. We've learned the value of open communication, the perils of leaping to conclusions, and the strength of forgiveness, both giving and receiving it. While we are not completely recovered yet, we believe we are on the right track. Thank you again, Reddit, for your encouragement and guidance at this difficult time. Your opinions have been important in guiding us through this challenging circumstance. We'll continue to take things one day at a time, focusing on our mental health and our children's well-being as we move forward. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.